So, welcome to Side A, Side D. I'm Faye, and this is Chloe.
Hi.
So, the kind of premise of this podcast is that every episode we're going to go back to 1 year in history, musical history, and we're going to pick an album each. And then, in classic Chloe and Faye style, we're going to argue, talk over each other, and debate which album deserved to define that year. So, we'll do that. That's about right, isn't it, Chloe? That's the kind of thing we're going to do.
Yep. And I think it's going to be interesting to see where our tastes overlap and where they really, really differ. There's definitely some things we're going to agree on and some things that we're going to vehemently disagree on. So I'm excited to get into that with you, Faye.
Yeah, vehemently disagree sounds quite good. I think Chloe's quite shouty music and angry music. I'm a bit
Yeah.
more like depressive, depressive dark music.
I was thinking that when we went through our picks, there's really quite like we both have clear tastes, but there are some big pieces that overlap, which is kind of interesting. I think we represent two different parts of this kind of broad genre, right? Of like alternative, heavier rock music.
I think so. It's gonna be very interesting. So tonight we're gonna kick off with probably two of the biggest heavyweight kind of albums of the
Yeah.
millennium, really. We're gonna
The
be
big deal,
arguing
these two.
oh my god, they are I mean, if you think the 2000s, these two albums that really define that year, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So my choice is gonna be White Pony by Deftones.
And my choice is Hybrid Theory, Linkin Park.
Although
The big hitters.
the big hit. So just to give you a bit of background as to who we are, Chloe, when did you and I meet?
Oh,
What was
Faye,
the
I
kind of
don't even
story
want to.
behind it?
So it was almost 20 years ago, I think probably 17, 18 years ago in London when we were both working for Rock Sound magazine. You were just a writer to begin with, and then you became a staff writer. I was there doing a sort of year's internship whilst I was still at university. Who really knows what my job was? But either way, it forged a friendship. We forged a friendship that year.
We did. It was good times. It was good times. It was crazy times as well. We could know because we will tell some anecdotes, although
I
definitely
mean,
not all.
can you remember any of them, Faye? Because, I mean, I can. Do you remember what you were doing then?
Well, I remember some of it.
Yeah. Some of it was, of course, written down in the pages of Rock Sound.
Yeah, actually, I did a good job of that.
You
Can
got
you?
some markers there. And
Yeah.
we pretty much stuck together most of the year at shows, you writing, me being a sort of impromptu handler of Faye,
Yeah.
making sure she making sure she remembered what she was doing, but we had a lot of fun. We had a lot
It
of
was
fun.
a lot of fun. It
Was
feels
a
like
was a very
maybe that's
lucky.
more fun than you.
I had a good damn time, my friend. I had a good damn time. I think, yeah, it was just more controlled, perhaps.
Yeah, so yeah, I would say that is fair. So I guess this podcast isn't so much about the kind of like it's not about all of just nostalgia, but what we really want to do, get into like the nitty gritty about like do these albums still deserve their kind of legendary status? Like have they
Mm.
held up the test of time? Um, could these albums be released today and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm excited about today. So before we start, because I'm going to just talk really, really briefly, if that's all right, Chloe, about Linkin Park and Deftones, because one of my first interviews actually for Rock Sound ever was when I was interning. And I think, actually, I was like, I think it was my third interview, and it was just a phono with Chester Bennington from Linkin
Was
Park.
it? Oh,
Yeah,
wow. Do
and
you
it was,
remember what was it like?
yeah, well, I remember Darren at the time, Darren Taylor, who was the editor of Rock Sound, he's like, so, are Linkin Park's the biggest band you've ever interviewed? And I think I paused and was like, well, who? And then I came up with somebody really like not that big or famous. I was like, well, I have interviewed like Massimo Park and or somebody like that, or maybe like I don't know, like some like indie band or something that was like popular for 5 seconds. Darren's looking at me like, oh my god, what? Like Linkin Park are a lot bigger. And I was like, yeah, I suppose they are. And he's like looking quite panicked. Like,
It's like, "Am I gonna unleash this girl on one of the most famous bands in the world?"
yeah, so it was like, bless him. And it
How
was,
did it go?
yeah, it was a funny conversation because I called him. He seemed a bit like, just a bit dismissive and a bit weary. And I remember being quite, like, a little bit disappointed initially. And
Mm.
then I said to him, I can't remember what I said, but I was like, oh, when I was like 14 or 15, I used to play like your phones in a band and he just perked up like that. And he was like, oh my God, Faye, I'm so sorry. He's like, I'm so jet lagged, as in so tired. And he's like, that's so cool.
Oh, what
With like, which songs were you playing? And I told him, I mean, it was all the same rhythm. It just slightly faster or slower, but like, it didn't matter. Um, and he was like, let me just go get the drummer. Like, he'd love to hear that. So he went and got the drummer. And then, like,
aw,
it
that's
was
so
like, and then
cute.
it was super, it was actually really wholesome. So in the
Yeah.
end, quite a good little interview out of him, I think. And he was just like really like, he saw person felt up after that.
Yeah, he was in journo mode, so he was like, "Okay, let's just do this," and then once he realized you were a fan, he's kinda snapped into it. What about
Yeah.
Deftones? Did
What
you
about
ever
Hector?
interview Chino?
By accident. Um,
Okay. What's that mean?
so see, my memory's better than I give it credit for. I was interviewing Claudio at Back Big at Brixton Academy, and they were playing with it's Claudio from oh god, well, my memory is not great. What's the band? Coheed and Cambria, of course.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it's Coheed and Cambria and Deftones. Um, and those guys are like playing at Brixton. And I'd gone in, did the interview, or I was waiting for the interview, and then I see kind of chinos on. By the way, that backstage area just stanks of weed. Like it was
I mean, that
so
checks, that checks.
the heaviest smell of weed in one kind of concentrated air. Like it was so intense. But he came out on the phone and he was talking to his wife at the time, and he kind of hung up the phone. And I could tell he was a bit distressed, and I was like, "Are you okay?" And like, he was like, "I think my son was having sex." How? What? Oh, gay. Oh,
Okay, distressing, sure.
yeah. We cried for like 15 minutes. I got like the story on his son, how old he was, what the situation with his girlfriend was, wouldn't be even protection. And Chino was like, we had a bit of a heart to heart, and when like, oh no, God, I should really be at home right now. And like, he was like full on dad mode.
Oh, also cute.
I know, also a very wholesome story. And then the rest of the band, I hung out like, oh, after a night out, getting drunk with them in London some more.
Less wholesome. Doing something
Right,
less wholesome.
but not so
Oh, lovely. And, uh I feel like that is a really good introduction to who you are, but also who you were as a journalist when you worked there, because I feel like you often really disarmed people by being your like natural, charming sort of like you know how a lot of people, especially when we were in London at that time, then there was a lot of like muso types around. You just were never that. You were just like the anti kind of muso because you are a music fan and you just kind of came at people in a very human way, which often disarmed them into probably telling you things they wouldn't have told other people, right?
maybe. And you remember what those things are.
I do, yeah. Do you?
Only when it matters. Maybe. But yeah, no, yeah. So that's kind of, I guess that was it, wasn't it? And we went so many gigs, didn't we?
Oh,
Like at
mate,
the
when I
time.
think about it
We
now, as a 37, almost 38-year-old mum, it's literally insane. I think we most nights were at a show, most weeks were at a show, what, 4 or 5 nights? Out
easily.
late, like, it was crazy. I mean, it was great, but it was also kinda crazy. And
Yeah.
my now husband was a friend at the time and used to come along as my plus one to most of those shows. So it's also like our what do you call that? Like,
How you kind of
you know
met, actually coming together.
yes, our meet cute,
Hey,
kind of.
your fullness of dating, it's funny because, yeah, Luke is, we all lived together with Mark in a house share.
We did, we all lived together. We were just friends then. It was a few years later
Hmm. But it's
that
great
we
that
got
you kind
together.
of had that. And I think maybe one of the differences when you were talking about that kind of disarming of things is I don't think you or me ever thought music's gonna be something we're gonna do long term.
No, that's
Neither.
true. You don't know. It just I mean, it was fun as hell, but it didn't have a lot of longevity potential at the time. Well, not a lot of money. Also, we were burning the candle at both ends. Christ, I don't think we could have sustained that for any longer than we did.
No, no, we
No.
didn't. I mean, I did it for a couple more years as well, and I was
You
like,
did.
I just remember leaving and them getting me like a cake that just said like, "Good luck." Like, you're gonna eat it. I don't know what. I remember like what somebody said. What the hell are you gonna do now? And I was like, I have absolutely no idea.
And
What
look at you
skill?
now, Faye. You
What
landed.
skill do you have? Like, I guess I can write drunk while listening to Mastodon at like really, really loud volume, but
Expert level of that.
which has actually helped. It's like, but yeah. So no, I think it was really good fun. But yeah, I like it's nice to be able to now just pick and choose what we go to and to like
Oh, yeah.
listen to all sorts of different things and to have like enjoy music again as like a hobby. I really like that. I think.
And that was my favorite thing about this podcast. When you wrote me and asked me, would I do this with you? Immediately I was like, this sounds like a lot of fun. Holy hell. Listening to these albums has been so much fun. I feel like I've relived my life where I was in these times, but also I was like, man, so many of these albums I'd kind of forgotten about. And then was like, shit, this is a great album. Why don't I listen to this anymore? It was a really enjoyable experience.
No, I agree. I mean, I completely love that. And while I've talked about not going to be the whole nostalgia thing, let's go back to 2000. Like, tell me about little Chloe in 2000.
Christ.
Where were you based? Where were you living? What was you like? What were you listening to at that time?
So I was 12 turning 13 in 2000, and I was obviously at home with my parents. I grew up in Glastonbury, so music was a huge part of my life always. Also, my dad is a huge music fan. I grew up on classic rock and, I was like Zeppelin and Sabbath before I was anything else. But 13-year-old Chloe was pretty angry, I think, and like I was getting to that point in my life, as many 13-year-old girls do, where suddenly you hate everything and everyone, and you're full of hormones. You don't know what's happening to you, and heavier music found its way to me as like the cure for my inner rage, I think. And 13-year-old me was doing normal shit, normal kid shit, going to school, whatever, swim training. But, there was an angry little kid inside of me that was able to be released through these albums. How about
Oh,
you?
well,
You were a little older than me, so you would have been 14, 15.
yeah, full thing. So I kind of similarly to you, my mum and dad massive music fan. My mum with the punk, then got into like Northern Soul and then gay 80s music like Ultravox. And on the other side, classic dad sort of rock. My dad actually neither of them liked metal,
Mm,
so that was very much a Faye thing. But my dad was like, we would drive. Cause I lived in the Middle East as a kid, and so we'd drag like Egypt and Israel, and we'd be listening to like the Nina Barner album, or we'd listen to like Pearl Jam, or
yeah.
Smashing Pumpkin, Rock, Report Bay. Which
Music in the car was a huge thing back then, eh? Music in the car.
and it was true when we were back in Hartlepool, you know, probably helped my teenagers be very angsty being based there. But my dad, when he'd come back, when I saw him, we would like go to the library, get CDs out, burn them, and copy them. Back when that was like a thing.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, for sure.
so yeah, there was always music in the house. And like my auntie Anne loved like Teenage Fan Club. She got me like a cassette that's garbage on one side, Teenage Fan Club on the other. Vic Herdman, my uncle's like in a like tribute band for ELO, and there was always loads of music.
Yeah, I mean, that's a part of setting this scene as well for 2000, right? This is a time where we were going to record stores to buy CDs that we had probably found out about in a magazine. I mean, we met working at Roxanne because we, at 12 and 13 years old, were probably buying Kerrang and Roxanne. This was like, that's what led us onto that path.
Yeah, true. It's so funny. Yeah, and like at the age of 14, I mean, I remember that year specifically because I was like, like I was at that age where I'd become really like addicted to my pace. I'd
Yeah,
write in the diary a lot of poems per week.
classic though.
Since there's still a lot of poems at 23, but
Yeah.
yeah, we won't go into that. But yeah, there's a lot of potential, and I discovered French cinema, and I was listening to like, I mean, 2000 to me, the albums were like a perfect circle.
Mm,
Like Ned and I think amazing, and obviously Maynard singing on White Pony was just like Passenger, of course, is like my favorite song on that
yeah,
album.
such a tune.
And then it was like 2000 as well. I was really, really into what was it? But Nishina, Smashing Pumpkins, of course.
Mm,
Like
mm.
because I know
Faye's
everyone.
greatest love and Chloe's biggest hate. That's right, I'm a Smashing Pumpkins hater.
Yeah, like we got like 15 minutes in before I mentioned them. That's really good.
I'm kind of impressed, to be honest.
And Lead was the perfect circle just for you.
Yeah, yeah, great.
So you know,
That's more in my wheelhouse.
but yeah, that album, everyone was like, "Oh, you're not gonna be good after Melancholy," and he did
Mm.
a beautiful dark electronic album in '98, Adore, and then 2000 they were at their best, they were at their peak, and in that year I went to see them as well at Wembley Arena with two friends. So yeah, I got to see Smashing Pumpkins for the first time in Wembley Arena doing like the Machina album, but they played for like 3 hours, and it was like
Ugh, that's
Jimmy
too long.
Chamberlain.
Come on now. Nobody wants that at the best of times, let alone when it's Smashing Pumpkins. 3 hours. Get it.
No, but Jimmy Chamberlain did a really long album.
Wow, sounds great.
He was clicking. He got rid of all the drugs after the overdose of like one of their seconds. Melissa or Samara joined the band, so we didn't have Darcy, who but she's a lot better on bass. It was just their
It's
music was
peak
heavy.
Faye. It's peak Faye.
Peak face
Peak
albums,
Faye
yeah.
year. I
Uh,
was, like, probably not listening to very much current music in 2000. I did a lot of sports when I was a kid, and I was on a swim team, and swimming I remember this is, like, a really important part of my childhood. I had to swim on Friday nights, which meant I missed Top of the Pops, and for cultural reference of anyone who might listen to this who is young or not English, that is how you heard music. Like, maybe you listen to the radio or you watch Top of the Pops every single Friday night. But I missed that because I was always swimming. So I didn't know what all the other kids that were listening to pop music were listening to. All I knew was the CDs that my dad had, which was at that point, Radiohead, Blur, Oasis. We always had, Zeppelin, Sabbath, Pink Floyd, a lot of Americana as well. I always remember listening to the Eagles with my dad. Oh my God, this is all the music that I had at 12 until I discovered Linkin Park. And I think this is the album that, like, cracked me open into exploring music on my own, I think, and I probably overheard it, like, at school, and I was like, "Wait, why are these, like, cool kids who normally like pop music also listening to something that sounds rocky? That's my thing." And then that would have been where I went from there.
that's interesting. I mean, that and the thing about the year 2000s, like it was like the start really of a complete change for the
Yeah.
musical landscape. All right, so like in the 90s, America, you've still got a hangover from grunge, probably until the
Mm.
mid 90s. You have a bit of blips, you have like a bit of trip hop that's kind of down the phrase, especially in Bristol.
Yeah, yeah, of
And
course.
and then you also had like in the UK, like Britpop the key, right? But it
Yeah.
was a real flash in the pan, and then
Yeah.
you had kind of shoegazy pop bands like Lush or all these kinds of different things. But it wasn't like, and that was kind of like it all kind of coexisted, but it wasn't like daft. And then you had bands suddenly that came out of the blue from like 96,
Yeah.
97 really onwards. You had like Korn and
Korn, Deftones.
Deftones, like Slipknot, and bands like that were like they were so new to us because yeah, we knew about heavy metal, but the heavy metal we knew because
In a different way.
we were not listening to Mayhem at the age of 11.
Yeah.
You know, And, like, I do love Iceland, but I was not listening to Emperor, and I
Yeah,
didn't listen to, like, Opeth. Well, I think it was about that time I found Opeth, actually. But anyway, like, it was all, like it was that crossy pop, like,
yeah,
angry, dark, like,
yeah.
hip rap, new metal, right? That was kind of what it's
Totally.
at.
It was a gateway. It's a gateway drug. It was a gateway in to the deeper stuff that's harder to come at when you're, younger kid, you're not into as much stuff. That's what comes later. This stuff was like the perfect lean into it. And when it hits you when you're a teenager, oh my God, isn't this just what we all were looking for at that age? I defy any teenager now to hear this stuff and not be like, this is what I want to hear. This like bundled up rage. Being a teenager sucks and you're full of anger, no matter who you are and how happy your life might be. You still feel it.
I agree. I mean, I have to say it's kind of, like, perfect timing that we're doing this though, because I'm kind of moving into that I'm in my 40s, actually. I'm in my 40s, alright? My girlfriend and I are very, very close to perimenopause. Years older than and we're gonna have to navigate. You women are gonna have to navigate perimenopause and menopause together, and
Girl, I am already there. I'm blessed with a family genetics that it comes early, and let me tell you, it is awful. It's great, great fun.
we're right niche into the like perfect for us. Like, oh, we're going back to this again. I
So
hate
true.
everyone.
It's so true. And it hits in the same way, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're getting too into our albums.
We are. We said we wouldn't do this, would we?
I
So we're
know.
gonna go into the albums. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna go. Do you want me to start, or would you like to start?
Start with Deftones. I think it makes more sense because they kind of came first, right? One led to the other.
Okay. All right. So I've got some notes on this because I'm actually trying to be a little bit professional.
Very profesh.
Oh. I mean, my notes literally said White Pony released 20th of June 2000, recorded at Record Plant Studios in a place that I can't pronounce, but it was
Mhm.
in LA. I knew that the
America.
producer that yeah, I knew that the producer was Terry Date because he'd done the Around the Fell album,
Mm.
and I'm going to talk about the drums because I love listening to drums. When you get into hybrid really, but I'll leave that for now. But he was great because he did like Helmet, who were amazing, Soundgarden and Pantera, but also like
Mm.
obvious stuff like Dream Theater as well. Um,
Oh.
which I actually do think kind of works a little bit. But he wasn't like over anything, and yeah, I like that about that. And I think that actually what I like most about him is, especially when I was listening to Linkin Park, Hybrid Theory, and listening back to White Pony, the things that I love the most, I think this album still sounds really modern. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, and I think a part of that is because of the way he's recorded, like, the snare and the drums, and, like, when I always listen to drums, I don't know why, I just always have, and, like, when I listen to Abe Pilling, I'm like, "Oh my god, that man, he's just one of the best drummers." And when I listen to that, I'm just like, "Yeah, this album still kinda holds up," and I don't think Hybrid Theory does in the same way,
Mhm.
you know?
Well, I fully disagree, but we'll get to that later. And I need to interject with a story, a personal story about Faye and drums, which is that I had to live with Faye for a year or two. I can't even remember how long it was. You listen to drums because you play the drums, but obviously we were poor people who lived in London. You didn't have the space or money for a drum kit. So our entire flat had to listen to Faye drumming on her pillow late at night when she had too much energy to go to sleep. And, we're talking about some scummy London house in Golders Green here where the walls are basically paper. So the entire night, all of us there, she's like got a big ass headphones on so she can't hear anything. And we can all just hear like she's drumming away on her pillows for hours on end. It's probably my husband Luke's biggest memory of you because he had the bedroom next to you, and he'd be like, "Oh, Faye and those fucking drums."
Yeah.
You'd just be too buzzy. Do you remember that? You were always just too buzzy to sleep, so you'd just stay up drumming the heck out of your pillow.
Well, it turned out I got ADHD.
Oh,
Can you believe that?
don't yeah, join the club.
All of the fun. Yeah, no, I did have a lot of energy. I think. I don't know how. I think maybe 4 more months, but
Yeah. But that makes sense that you always connect to the drums, I think. You definitely got a little drummer's heart, haven't you?
mm, mm, I think you've got to be a bit crazy, haven't you, Dremel? Like,
Do you? Do you wanna add that sweeping generalization out there?
what they say, isn't it? Oh, a bit
A little
crazy.
bit, be a little bit nuts.
But
I think you've gotta have a really specific type of brain, right? I think you've either got that brain or not, because you've gotta have, like, the ability to count different things at the same time, which to me is insane, and I definitely couldn't do it.
not very good. But yeah. Anyway, back to Deftones.
Yeah.
Um. Also, I'm gonna shout out as well, based on the Fan Two albums that we're talking about today, like Frank, who like his samples and the kind of loops that he used on White Pony, I think are excellent. They're very compared to sort of Linkin Park. They're a lot more underutilized. But when you got the kind
Mm.
of intro to the some of the songs on White Pony, they're so definitely done. And I think that's just I love that. I love anything that kind of builds atmosphere.
It
So
has such a deep vibe, doesn't it? It always reminds me of, like, the visual of something, like, blowing across the wind late at night. That's such a strange thing to say, but it's, like, a really every time I listen to this album, it makes me think of desolate spaces, and I think that's a lot to do with those kind of, like, slow opening samples to a lot of the songs, right? It just feels, like, really open and like you'd be in a desert or something.
I agree. I mean, when you said that, that was like the perfect descriptor for the intro to Chains in the Back of Fly.
Yeah,
It
totally.
they kind of, isn't it? When it like, I'm not going to say it out, and I'm fiction from being
Strict
un-
instructions that
really not
no replications of the films will occur. Yeah, but it is like
very sampled either.
something like wispy blowing through the air at night. It's like and like a deep kind of deserty smell or something. It really conjures a lot of images for me, and I will give that for this album. It's a big vibe. They know what they're about in this album, right? Because it's not a debut. They've
Mm,
settled into their sound.
yeah, and I think it pushes it as well. And Chloe becoming something in the little poet. We
Oh, what?
and you becoming something of a little poet there. That was
Oh,
that very musical put, Chloe.
a poet in my old age.
Oh wow, there's a U-turn I didn't see coming, but yeah, that's
I've changed a lot, Faye. Let the angry 12-year-old go.
very good. And like I'll mention Chino very briefly. I mean, the thing I love most about Chino is I always think he's like a little bit of a goth kid. You
Mm,
know what I mean? But he's kind of trapped from that kind of Sacramento kind of new metally type music. But when he was doing like the cover songs, for example, the fact that he chose to do the Smith, they I think says quite a lot about him. And I
that
know he
speaks
let
to you, huh? That speaks to you and your little goth heart.
yeah, he does a bit, but I think he's got that. I mean, I know he loves The Cure, and I think like the thing about White Pony that I like so much is like when you look at their like first album, like Adrenaline, it's great, it's absolutely fantastic. But with this album, I love all the textures and I love all the layers, and
Mm,
it's like there's the shoegazy bits. I mean, I can hear hum in it a lot, but also like Cocktail Sins or Bloody Valentine,
mm,
you know, like, and then there's sort of like almost like a bit Depeche Mode-y. And when you've like, when Chino's gone off and done like crosses and he's done maybe not harm so much, that was more post rock, but you got that kind of, you just know he loved all those kind of like 80s, 70s, late 70s
yeah.
kind of like gothy stuff,
This
you know?
is I agree. This is definitely the point at which they're reaching their most interesting as a band. They're, like, starting to play with more of their influences, and that's what I mean by it being, like, a really vibey album. It's got, like, a kinda deep theme to it, and it comes through in all these pieces.
Yeah. For you as well, I know you love the album, like
I
you
do.
love,
I'm, like, a Deftones fan. I'm not coming at this like, "Fuck the Deftones, you're wrong." But like, of the 2, I just think that Linkin Park has got more to say for itself in terms of impact. But this is a great album. It is a stellar album with so many good songs. I mean, there's definitely for me in some places I feel like they get lost a bit in that vibe. And whilst there are a whole bunch of like really standout tracks, there's a couple that I'm like, I feel we've gone a bit deep into the whole of the vibe here, and I could have skipped a little bit of that.
I reckon that the ones you feel that about are the ones that are my favorite.
Probably that tracks. That totally tracks.
Which tracks to you are their best? Which tracks are their like, the worst on that album?
Let me have a look. So the best, I love House and Stranger Flies.
Oh,
Passenger is the best song on that album.
yeah,
It
agreed.
is
And
exceptional.
minor vocals, my God.
It's so good. And
Yeah.
it's such a vibe, that song. It's like immediately you're in a car. You're in a car, you're late at night, your windows are down, for some reason you're in a desert, like whatever. But it's so good. I think it's like the middle tracks that kind of lose it a bit for me. I'm looking them up now. Um, let's see. Also, I think I was probably yeah, okay. So then like Back to School is obviously banger. That's like big single banger.
That's
That
good.
was a huge song, right?
Yeah, because Molly hated that, right? You know that the record label made them do that when
Really?
and yeah, they basically yeah he's spoken about it like now, but he was like he did not want that. Basically, they said, look, we need a hit single
Yeah.
to go the album. And nowadays, you could probably just do the singles as standalone, and it would be on TikTok, and everyone would be like, yeah. But back then they really
Back then,
cared
a single was
about the
important.
album.
Yeah. I mean,
But
they were not wrong. They were not wrong. Like that song was huge. And and in a way it does kind of stand out. Maybe it doesn't quite fit in the vibe of the rest of the album, which is maybe why they put it as the first track. They were like, get this one out of the way. Um Digital Bath is a great song and Elite I love. And then I think here's where it drops off a little for me. So now we're in like Streetcar, Teenager, Korea, and then it picks up again at the end. I mean, they're not bad songs. I just for me, it's that I lose my attention a little there.
no, that's fair. I mean, I love Korea. I think that's brilliant. But yeah, no, that's fair enough. I mean, the standout tracks are literally like Digital Bath. Like I love Nice
It's a great
Party,
song.
which isn't usually my sort of in I would say like at the time it's a lot more like almost like poppy chordy, but then with the sort of horrific screams from the what was her
Yeah.
name? Roblin Roblin Gets It. Is that Get It? Yeah, Get It. Roblin Gets It. And she was like a performance artist, but her screams in that song are like so blood curdling, aren't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, that song like that song, I don't know why, because it's kind of goes against everything that I usually like, but for whatever reason, I can love that song.
It's got a lot of feeling in it.
Mm. Oh, there you go.
That's probably why.
Mm. But yeah,
What do you think makes this the best?
okay. I mean, given this is the question what we're supposed to be talking about, it's the thing I've given like least effort to. What makes it the best? I think at the time, and it was at the time, it was one of those albums where it sort of stopped me getting my track.
Mm.
Like, I loved Around the Fur. I absolutely loved it. But when I heard this, it was just so much more layered and textured. And it was just like, oh my God, it's like it's singing more for my soul, you know?
Mm. Yeah, I do
And
know.
and it was at that time as well where there was a lot of like I feel about pop punk the way you feel about Smashing Pumpkins. There's a lot of crap like, Blink 182 and
I mean, Blink was huge at this time, right? That was like Top of the Pops, MTV huge. It was massive. Not
yeah,
for you.
I mean, and
Is
like
it
I
too
was at that
silly
age
for
where
you?
what's that?
Is it too silly for you?
Really? It's too yeah, I was taking myself very seriously, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, I hated all that shit. And because I was at that age when I was like 14, 15, I was going out, and like having drinks with my friends and And
Mm.
that was like house coffee music, like
Mm.
Simple Plan would be playing or um no Downfall was in circulation, but like Blink-182 and like the Bloodhound Gang and all that crap.
Yeah.
And I'd be going home like listening to like I think I still lice about at this point, like Opus or like Kid A or
Yeah.
like, I'd be listening to really dark stuff and Deftones were definitely kind of lumped in with that for me. And it really when I was starting to get into heavier music and
Yeah.
I discovered like Tool and The Perfect Surfer, and that was it for me then. That was like I was like, "Oh my god, no, I can't be dealing with,
And
Paramore."
Deftones is like the perfect blend of that because it was popular and it did have touches of this more mainstream like rock music, but it is pretty gothy and it's pretty dark in places. It's definitely feeding more into that. I also think of it as being like technically and intellectually, it's a much more like developed album than Linkin Park. It's got a lot more in it, a lot more thought, probably. And I can see why, as a kind of, like alt kid turning away from Blink 182, that this was a good bridge gap into something. It's kind of shouty, it's kind of heavier, but it's still got that like spaced out kind of shoegazy vibe to it.
Yeah, and yeah, you're right. And I think there's the sensitivity there as well that I always kind of like look for in albums. I really like that. And Chino's vocal, they're super sexy, right? It's like
Mm,
they do sexy, and I think maybe at that point in my life I was getting the hormones were kind of kicking in a bit. Ah,
hitting you at that teenage horror. They are. It's deeply moody. It's very moody in a great way. In a way that I think is surprising that a 15-year-old could latch onto, but it makes sense.
we
Yeah, it's
yeah,
very
so
moody.
we can't just say the reason I think this album is the best is because I was having a white terrific being fan week. That's
Great,
not the
cool.
reason.
Wondered how long something
That's
like that
not
was gonna take to come up.
that's probably the best album because of that. No, I think no, I love it. It's the melodies, it's the chords, but then it's the kind of refrainment as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you say, it's that perfect kind of metal, but kind of the softer side. And yeah, the intersection, the moodiness, all of that. It's just absolutely fantastic. And it's like Deftones are a band that I have consistently listened to. Since I was like, I don't know, like 13 or whatever, I've
Yeah, yeah.
listened to them consistently. And yeah, that album, I loved it straight away as well. And it was different to Around the Sun, but it was also, there was that kind of like common thread where it did just feel like an absolute improvement on there. Whereas like, Kid A by Radiohead, I heard that the first time in the same year and I was like, "Oh my god, no, what is this electronic music? What's going on?" And it took me probably about a year to get that
Yeah.
album. Whereas, yeah, with this, it was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing." Like,
Straight love.
from start to finish, pretty much. Ugh.
Nice. Alright. It's a good case. Not gonna lie.
No,
Not
no,
gonna
come
lie.
on. Bury me.
Okay, let me have my rebuttal for Linkin Park. Are you resting?
I'm resting.
You're resting your case. Okay. Then
Well,
let me start from the beginning and do what you did and set a bit the scene. Because it's actually kind of a pretty interesting story. So, from what I've read about, Linkin Park receives a lot of criticism for being kind of an industry made up band, that they were, not formed in the way that a band is normally formed. Because Mike and the rest of the band were already in a band writing songs that didn't have a lot of success, and Chester was somewhere else doing something else. And it was like an A&R guy that pulled them together and was like, "You guys need a better singer. This is the guy that I think you need." And that makeup kind of gave them this reputation of like, "Oh, you're just like an industry plant band. Somebody plucked you guys out and pulled you together." And that was like 99 or so, right? And they had a couple of these songs from Hybrid Theory knocking around and made like an absolutely insane amount of demos, which I would love to get my hands on. Apparently, there's like so many different versions of the songs as they were trying to work out their flow as a band together. But I read also that Mike heard Chester and was immediately like, "Yep, That's what we need. That's what we're missing. 100% this is our guy. And so they kind of buckled down to it together. They went out to play what they'd pulled together for Hybrid Theory for, I think it was like 40 different labels, and they got rejected by every single one of them. Yeah. Every single one were like, "Nah, nah." And it was the guy, the A&R guy that pulled them together who actually ended up getting a job at Warner and was like, "I'll take the job if we can take on this band because I think they're gonna be huge." That's how they got signed to Warner, is what I've read on the internet. Let's just
Yeah,
add
'cause
that
it's
there for
more
legal reasons.
like a massive label, but so they
Yeah.
must have been rejected from like indies and things as well.
Yeah, 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 for sure. All the indies rejected them, all the majors, like, just no one was interested, which is crazy to think that this was the album. This also was not only the biggest selling album of that year, it was the biggest selling album of the 2000s. They sold 30 million copies, and
Oh,
40 labels were like, "No, no thanks," which
they're
is
basically the
insane.
J.K. Rowling, aren't they? The J.K. Rowling of new metal.
Yeah. They couldn't see the vision. Yeah, crazy. And then also they landed at Warner, and Warner tried to change a lot of the songs, and the band had to fight back, I think, quite a lot, and so it took a long time for them to pull it all together. Um, but from what I've read, they
Oh,
kinda tried to
thank you.
hold their
Yeah.
art, which is interesting, like what you say about Chino and Back to School, because I think there was a lot more of that going on than there is these days. Like, I think because, like, singles was such a massive thing then, and arguably album sales were such a bigger thing then, labels were really getting in the way of a band to be like, "Nah, it needs to be more commercial." Um, so what we know as Hybrid
Yeah,
Theory today has actually probably gone through, like, so many iterations, so many pushbacks to be the album that it ended up to be, which is kind of crazy when you think about it and how much impact it actually had. Which I guess brings me on to my main argument, because
oh,
Faye and I discussed a little bit about, what does best mean? What does the best record mean? And there is no way that we can like it's different all the time for everything. Sometimes it's the best because it meant so much to you. Sometimes it's the best because it's got the best lyrics. Sometimes it's the best because it was the most impactful. And you cannot deny the impact that this album had. It was huge, not just in terms of sales, but it was huge for getting so many kids into heavier music. And like half of the bands that I like today, or newer bands that people listen to today, are a band because of Linkin Park. I mean, I think that is also true of Deftones, which is why it's so interesting that we're doing these two together. Because I think if you pin down bands like Architects, Bad Omens, um, I don't know, all the other bands like that, I bet that they would say that they were all listening to Linkin Park and Deftones,
oh
and
god,
that
yeah. You know, look at the success of like I'm trying to be current and modern. I'm really good. I've learned who Chapel the Lamp is. And what I will say is like Sleep Token, right? Arguably
yeah,
they're one of the biggest bands right now in all
absolutely.
the music. I mean, they blend the love genres. That's the whole other discussion. But there's no way that they were listening to like
Linkin
Linkin
Park,
Park
Deftones,
and
for sure.
expected
These 2
otherwise.
albums, like, they're monumental, and like, so many of the bands that we liked then all through the 2010s and through to now, it was all because of these 2 records, and this Linkin Park record, regardless of what anybody thinks of nu metal as a genre, or, how famous and popular it became, like, this album was just huge. And it's also I debate a little, or I'm uncomfortable a little with putting nu metal onto Linkin Park, which is what it is. But what goes along with nu metal is so many other bands that are not worth the same as what Linkin Park are. Do you know what I mean? Like, just kind of flash in the pan bands that had a couple of good songs, but the rest of it was kind of left. But Linkin Park is something totally different to that. It has so much more substance to it.
I agree, and I think it was like the catcall term. It's kind of like how the scene, everyone got called Brund, and they were like Melvins and Bikini Kill and Screaming Trees and Lumana and Tad, and they're all completely different sounding beats, but they all kind of got lumped in with it. And in
Yeah.
the same's completely true with new metal. Like you've got like Heavy or Spine Shank, and then you might have like, oh, Crazy Pal or Stain
Yeah.
because he's the cousin. Aaron Lewis is the cousin of fucking Fred Durst in
Yeah.
Limp Bizkit. Like, okay, if we've got Limp Bizkit here and we've got Deftones, there is like nothing to
Like,
unite.
there's like a canyon in between those bands, and I
Exactly.
like
You could call Linkin Park, right?
yeah,
It's
absolutely, and they're more in that bracket, but you can like, the substance of the songs is so much better, and it doesn't have the musical depth of Deftones, but it does have lyrical depth in a more obvious way, perhaps, but it certainly speaks to something that hits with teenagers, which is this, like, age where you just come into the world like, "Fuck you. I don't wanna," in the words of Rage Against the Machine, "do what you told me." And, like, this album is that feeling. It is that feeling in a jar. It's like you're just suddenly realizing you have some agency in your life, and then you hear this, and it's like someone screaming, "Shut up," in your ears, and you're like, "Yeah, fucking shut up, everyone." And it's, like, massive. I feel like that's why it became so big, is it just connected with so many kids, who were all feeling the same thing, and it, like, completely captured what it is to be slightly alternative at that age where you just wanna tell everyone to fuck off.
yeah. It's great. I feel sad for kids now because they've got is like, going on the internet and finding these hideous or saying awful things to strangers, whereas we don't listen to that and we play those albums like on CD players while skateboarding or like
Yeah.
playing metal amps or, like I don't know, like going to see gigs and things, which
Yeah.
kids can't really do now, and it's like it it was like it was a good time. Like, that music hit at a kind of a good time in a weird way to be a teenager.
Totally. Great time. And gigs were so much cheaper. You could just buy tickets and go to shows, like, whenever you want. Like, nowadays is let's not get into that 'cause it's a whole other thing, but it is crazy how expensive it is these days. And it was a different listening experience, Listening to a whole album, you're, like, sinking into somebody else's life for a minute, and, like, with the lyrics that they wrote and Chester's voice, you're really, like, going into this place of them, and it is a ragey little place to be. I kind of remember, like, getting home from school and being pissed off with my parents are going to listen to this and just, like I mean, it was the birth for me of what metal music has given me in my life, which is like when people meet me these days, you know, little British, even though I've got a weird accent, mom, they're always so surprised when they eventually learn that I'm into like heavier music. And they're always like, "Oh, what do you like about it, all that screaming?" And I'm like, "Because when you don't feel good, listening to that is a complete release." It's like, it's this complete let go if you're angry or you're tired or you're anything, and I remember having that feeling listening to Hybrid Theory, feeling all those mixed up teenage emotions and just, like, releasing them all by listening to this album.
Funny one, isn't it? Because at the time, you kinda had to train yourself in a way 'cause they were accessible, I think, as well, like,
Yeah, for
Linkin
sure.
Park, it was angry, but it's the right level of angry,
Yeah.
like, accessible anger, you know? To kind of like it was like baby steps until you started listening to heavier stuff, like, now I'll listen to Neurosis and be like, "Oh
Yeah,
my god, the quality," and keep smiling at people on
exactly.
my work. It's like it's like crushing music. But it's almost like you don't just go to that unless you're insane, there are
Yeah.
depths.
It's a slow build, a journey we've
Yeah,
all been on. This is how you come in, and then it gets a little you're like, "I need a little bit more screaming, maybe a bit more screaming," and then you end up with neurosis. But it's
and
also
to be
like
fair, I think when I first met you, I was like, 'cause you do like, at the time, you were a lot more shouty, angry stuff.
yeah, for sure,
Like,
for sure.
I think Architect were fantastic, but you loved them, and you
Yeah.
loved, like, that first album. The heavier, the better for you at the time, and the more screaming, the better for you, whereas I've always been, like, a bit more froggy.
You like it more moody. I think you like the builds, the mood, which it's fine. I get it, but I do like the screaming. It appeals to my little angry sad girl core. But I mean, with Linkin Park, you also get Chester's voice, which is undeniable. It's so good. And it's like, I put this album on in these last few weeks prepping, and my God, did I float around my house singing these songs with all my heart. And I was like, God damn, these are good fun songs to sing. And that is also my closing point is this album is also just really good fun. It's like a straight up
That
bangers fun album. And I have a bit of a thing here that I think will reoccur regularly as we do this podcast, which is a
but you
deep belief that art does not always have to be intellectual, and sometimes it can just be fun. And the joy of it and the power of it can just be in how much fun it is. It doesn't always have to be important. And this album is like the ultimate of that. It's a great album. It's a lot of fun. Maybe it's not super serious and, it's not thinkers music, but it is good fun.
I don't know. I mean, it's a bloody good closing argument, right? And I agree with it. It's like it is hit after hit after hit, and but
Yeah.
then I think like the songs that I loved on the album obviously were like "Crawling,"
Yeah.
the extra.
It's so emo, that song. It's just so like, oh, but it's so good. I really like the ones that aren't the singles. With You is one of my favorites. And Place for My Head, which is I mean, those are the kind of more shoutier ones, I think, is probably why I like them. Um, but it had like 4 huge hit singles. One of them won a Grammy. I think is that Crawling?
Might again. I mean, One Step Closer or Fallen probably because they were the big one. But even stuff like Paper Cut was great. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like and well, one thing I did realize where I was gonna think from both today, right? I walked into work and I Deftones probably took about 2/3 of my journey, or like it was a long chunk of time.
Yeah.
And then for lunch, I just took a 40-minute lunch today because I was working on some things and shopping. And I managed to listen to like the whole album of Hybrid Theory, and I was like, hang on a minute, I'm on a short lunch. What? And it's
Yeah.
only like it's like half an hour, just over half
No,
an hour more.
it's pretty punchy, right? Those songs are only a couple minutes long.
Yeah. And I was like, God, I didn't realize that at the time, that, or maybe it just seemed really short now because, like, one song could be 40 minutes depending on who you listen to, but like, it's proper, like, punchy pop
Yeah,
hit.
yeah. It's punchy hits for sure, and there's so many good ones. But it is like a different beast. It's a different beast, which is why it's gonna be very hard for us to
Easy winner.
debate this.
From what you said as well about the record company being so heavily involved in this, I wonder, like, if they're super happy with the end choices. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
I'd love to know. I
I
think I
would.
read that they did say in the end, because they pushed back quite a lot, that they were pretty proud of the album that came out. I'd love to hear the unfiltered version though.
Minimal.
Yay! Look at them. How's a piece of work? Very nice.
At least I'm not rapping. No, but like at the same time, there's like when we go on like Napster and LimeWire and like illegally download stuff, they had that song. Was it? Oh my God, was it My November? No, My December.
Hmm.
You remember that one? It was really
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
slow and
That's
quite
like
like a bit more sensitive. And I was just quite wondering. I mean, you like you said, they have like million demos. I just wonder if they kicked them out like top heavy ready one. But then,
yeah, true. I wonder what else was left behind. I'd love
but
to
it looked
know.
like there'd be. He's a choir boy, wasn't he? Like that was his background.
Yeah. I mean, he's got such a good voice. But to that point, now, sadly, without Chester, they have Emily. She also has an amazing voice. I mean, you can't sing those songs without a good voice. Like, maybe the technicality isn't there as much in the drums and whatever else here, but it is in the voice. That's like there's some real belting going on there.
Yeah, and she's got. I mean, she's got an impossibly cat. Like she's gonna write her own music. I mean, Mike's kind of the guy.
Yeah.
He very much Linkin Park, isn't he? But like Shinoda. But I think when she got a few more back catalogue under her name, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because she come on singing a beloved Chester. He, you know, bless him. But she's singing his song. They're his vocals. They're his
Yeah.
songs. So to do that and to do it so well, like, fair play, but I think
He actually does a
once you're
cracking job.
done and yeah, which is gonna really I think people will maybe stop with the comparisons and the rating or something.
It's not an easy thing
What
to
you
do,
no.
stepping in shoes like that. Like, doesn't really matter who you are. That's a crazy mantle to have to take up. All right, how are we
What
gonna decide this, Faye? What
well,
happens now?
arm wrestle. Yeah, you win.
We fight to the death.
Decide who to death. I think we'll just have to be honest.
Okay.
I think and it's not because you can fucking love White Pony. I do think Kagura is a banger, but I actually just think there's no competition in terms of like at that time, the songwriting and the depth and the kind of progress that Deftones made.
I hear your point. I just don't agree with it. Lol. I agree with everything you say, and it's such a good album. I can't get past the impactfulness of Linkin Park, of where we would be in the world today without it, and how much, like, even here 20 years later, I'm putting those songs on and I'm like, damn, this is a good song. And I want to jump around my room like I'm 12. Like it's still got that feeling. And I know it's
Love
not as, creatively interesting, but I do think it's a better, I think if you, and this is where I always fall down in this argument of, you know, how you go for what is best. I think if you played these two albums to 100 random people, everyone would prefer Linkin Park.
wrong.
I don't know if that is enough to qualify it as the best.
No, but listen, like Deftones are getting there. These young people, whatever,
I
getting
know they're
more.
having like a huge
And
resurgence, which is awesome.
it's brilliant, but they're bigger now than they ever did. And I said, you handle the hot boy over the last 20 years. Out of Linkin Park and out of Deftones, really played more. Don't lie, because there's no way it's been Linkin Park.
Totally.
But so
That's a
glad.
great question. And the answer is probably Deftones. However, I don't know what my point is. Linkin Park I've probably sung Linkin Park more because it's on my karaoke list, and every time I do karaoke, I sing Linkin Park. But have I listened to this Deftones album as a whole? Not that much. I've probably got a couple of the songs on playlists. I'm a big playlist gal. Have I listened to Hybrid Theory as a whole album? Maybe a little bit more, but probably, to be totally honest, not that much more.
Okay. If we don't declare a winner,
Well, no, we have to. We can't not.
I was back up. I do think I'm not. I
I
don't.
do think this is one of the hardest ones. I don't want to let go of Linkin Park.
He could, and he's gonna tell you off, but
What did you say? Sorry.
Stabler will tell you off
Pablo
when he comes
Picapiedra.
in to go to him and help it decide like the ranking. He's gonna tell you off if you put Linkin Park
Well,
over.
that makes me want to do it even more, Faye. Don't challenge me with authority. Then I just want to do it even more. Okay, I think this is the hardest one on our list, honestly, to decide. I think these two are huge. And the only point that I am willing to concede is I don't think that Linkin Park would have been the band that they were without Deftones. And I think that that's an important consideration, and perhaps the only reason I will accept raising Deftones to this prized position, because I know that they were very, very influenced by Deftones, and Deftones definitely opened up the way for this. I mean, like, there was Korn and everything, but Korn is Korn, that's kind of a different thing. I think Deftones did open up a lot of space for these bands, and I don't think Hybrid Theory would be what it was without Deftones, which may be enough to give them the top spot. But I just need to hear you say that this album is deeply important, and if it's not getting first, it definitely gets second.
It definitely gets second, 100 it 100% gets second. It it
Of two. Of the two that we picked. I mean, like,
You're the one who's good at math. No, it is a fantastic album, and at the time there was like it was a new sound, and it was incredible. And I remember listening to that and listening to Papa Roach. I think I had
yeah,
a burn
the same
CD of
year, I
both
think.
of them, and like when I first heard them both, I was just like this Papa Roach album, great. It's like heavy rock, fantastic. This I was like, this is like totally new, and I was like, I hadn't listened to rap. It wasn't something I'd ever like
No,
listened
me
to.
too.
So I'm not, made me a bit open-minded to it.
It's as much as she's gonna give me. It's as much as she's gonna give me. Okay, well, the fact is, I can't deny how much I love White Pony by Deftones also. And I think that even though Hybrid Theory is an exceptional album still now, we've got to agree that White Pony can take the top spot. I mean, it is a cracking album.
Yeah, I agree on that one. Yeah, I think it's fantastic. And
Fine. Round
Hi,
one to fade.
oh, yeah, well, it's not me. I'm not winning. I didn't write the album. I was just, I'll be very rich. Uh, No, it is fantastic, but it is a difficult choice because that like High Theory is great, and I do think subsequently there have been Linkin Park songs and albums that are really really good. Like you
Yeah,
know,
true,
really
true.
there's some
And I
really bad.
mean, let's be honest, it was the biggest selling album of this entire decade that we're discussing, so I feel like they've maybe already won enough, you
Yeah,
know? They
these were
got their props.
these were two of the biggest bands at the time. Like
Yeah,
it was to call what the hell is going on? This is it felt like a brand new musical explosion, and we were really lucky to be like at the heart of that at the right time when it all kicked off.
totally. We didn't even talk about the fact that they toured these 2 albums together in 2001. Imagine how good that show would have been. So
That would
good.
have been really good, really good. I think, yeah, that would have been incredible.
Yeah, what a show. I would love to speak to somebody who had been there.
He
Been
loved the
We
what?
must
Like
know somebody. We must know someone that went to that tour
the
between
drummer
us.
rock.
Sure.
Killer Ken was there, especially it was in Vegas.
Surely.
Like 12-year-old Ken did the fair lot to Vegas. Yeah, like
We also have watched Deftones together, me, you, and Jen, at Download once.
yeah.
I don't
Is
think
that
we've ever
when
seen
you
him together.
10? Keep us me 10.
Oh, girl, I have
Oh
no
no,
idea.
I can't remember. That's where I get hazy. Like when it's like all of the festival.
Oh, mate, this is just one big blur.
I swear that was where I get like, oh my god, I can't remember. Can you just it be the man?
No. It was fun, though.
Right. So,
All right, we can say I concede. I formally concede.
all right, cool. So, all right, the winner of 2000s in this specific battle. I haven't won the war. This one battle is
You
Get
best
Paying
bet I'm
Champion.
coming for you.
I know you are. What have we got next? Next, we're gonna debate
Oh, actually,
one.
am I coming for you?
Can't
2001.
be. No, this to be fair, 2001. We've got two incredible albums, both
Incredible
incredible.
albums. Defining albums of the 2000s. We're
Yeah.
doing,
I'm
Slipknot Iowa for me,
yeah, and I'm doing Full Laughter.
which is one of the greatest albums of all time. I can't deny that. We're giving the prelude already that I adore Tool.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm gonna go out there and say when I first heard of Slipknot and first saw Slipknot, I was actually a bit afraid to go into the
I
mosh
mean,
pit, like
we all were.
like Lead Festival. I was like, what is this? That's funny because it's like 5-year-old no dancing around to Slipknot, and it's like, oh, but yeah, we'll go into that next time.
Yeah, can't wait. It's gonna be a good one. Loads to talk about. 2 incredible, important albums that I still listen to both of those
Yeah,
very regularly.
but yeah. What's these people usually do on the Cynic podcast code? Do they just like say GoFundMe? Here's like a Sunday code, like give us money or
I don't know. Say peace out. Until next time. Um, I wanna know what everybody whoever is gonna listen to this, my brother, probably. I would like to ask them to do 2 things. Let us know which of these 2 albums they think is the best, but I also wanna know what albums we didn't discuss that people think are good, because there's so many other good things out there. I wanna know what else is up there, and I wholeheartedly encourage anybody to go back and listen to albums from all of these years because it was
Oh,
so much fun.
you know what we could do? We could, at the end of this, like, put, like, maybe a playlist of other things. Like, we didn't even touch on Relationships in Command, right? At the Drive-In.
Yeah,
That was a festival? That was 2000, right?
I honestly don't know.
For under.
We'll
But,
have to
like,
do
yeah.
some research. We can put other, epic 2000 albums up.
Yeah, we can. But that, like, yeah, I'm really enjoying getting to go back and listen.
Oh, so good.
And it's lovely to see you as well.
Yeah, mate.
Is that Failure is charming to talk about?
So great. I'm
Oh,
charmed all over again.
great. Well, yeah, I guess that's it from us, and we'll see you next time for our next
Sign off
piece of
for the
advice.
week.
See you later.
Bye.